Chapter 1 Saturday, September 8th, 1900, around 7 o'clock p.m., Galveston, Texas. No! A powerful blast of wind grabbed hold of 11-year-old Charlie Miller and threw him into the raging flood. He screamed for his parents and his little sister as the chilling water swept him away. Charlie was caught in the jaws of the deadliest natural disaster to ever hit the United States. A vicious hurricane was destroying the beautiful city of Galveston, Texas. Winds tore apart houses and buildings. Towering waves crashed over streets. Thousands of people were already dead. And now, the screaming winds and drowning waters had come for Charlie. Charlie sputtered and gasped as he struggled to keep his head above the waves. But the water was filled with wreckage. Every second something smacked him, scraped him, stabbed him. A chunk of roof, a wagon wheel, hunks of wood and glass, all that was left of houses and shops he known was all his life. Charlie managed to grab hold of a floating door and climb on top. But now he faced the killer wind, which had turned bricks and tires into cannonballs. Charlie flattened himself against the cold, wet wood, squeezing his eyes shut. Even the pouring rain couldn't wash away his tears. Charlie had never felt so terrified or alone. Just that morning, none of this had seemed possible. Galveston was one of the most important cities in Texas. Nobody believed a big hurricane could strike here, but then came the monstrous waves. Boom! The wind that blasted with shrieking gusts. Whoosh! 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 The sky turned black and split apart. Rain gushed down, but most shocking was when the usual peaceful Gulf of Mexico suddenly rose up, higher, 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 and swallowed the city. Galveston was doomed. Charlie looked frantically around him. Well, Mama and Papa and his little sister Lulu, were they somewhere out here too? Lightning flashed, each boat lighting up a new hole floating by. Flash! A house on sight. Flash! A woman clinging to a pile of wood. Flash! A huge wooden pole speeding through the water. Hidden. Wait for Charlie. Chapter 2 4 days earlier, Tuesday, September 4th, 1900, around 2 p.m., Charlie's house, Galveston, Texas. It was a hot and sticky afternoon, and Charlie was alone in his room. His 2-year-old sister Lulu was supposed to be napping, but she was singing away in her bed across the hall. La la la, la la la. Mama and Papa's sunny voices drifted from the kitchen. Busy city sounds rose up from the streets. The clop, clop, clop of horses, the squeaks and rumbles of wagons, boys whooping as they played marbles in the alley. But Charlie barely heard. He was busy practicing his magic. One by one, Charlie went through his tricks. The disappearing coin, the venison bars, the floating card. He'd been practicing all summer. His best friend Sarah said he should try out for the talent show at school. But there was no way Charlie would do that. That was something Sarah would do, not Charlie. As for magic, he barely thought about it until a few months ago, when Mama and Papa took him to see a magician named Antonio McKay. Charlie had heard of him, of course. He was practically as famous as President McKinley, and the moment Murakami stepped onto the stage, Charlie understood why. Whoosh! Murakami threw a card into the air, and suddenly it was a yellow bird fluttering around the ceiling. Presto! He took a stick, waved his hands, and the stick magically turned into a tree covered with big white flowers. He made a lady float up into the air, turned somersaults near the ceiling, and gently float back down. But the best came near the end. Murakami asked a lady from the audience if he could borrow her ring. He put it on. He put it into a pouch and smashed it with a hammer. He sprinkled the sparkling crumbs into a barrel of a gun. Pow! Maraki shot the gun at a box hanging at the edge of the stage. He opened the box, and there was the ring, good as new. The crowd ran wild. Charlie just sat there in shock. That's impossible, he thought, and of course he knew it was. None of those things had really happened. That's what a magic trick was. A trick. Behind each one was some secret, a special prop, or cleverly built box, a hidden mirror or trapdoor, wires or ropes the audience couldn't see. A magician made impossible things look possible. Charlie wanted to be a magician. He bought himself a beginner's magic kit and Makai's book, The Secrets of Magic. He tried doing some basic tricks, but he stank. He could barely shuffle a deck of cards. Coins clattered noisily to the floor. The vengeance box got stuck in the jars. So Charlie put the kid away. But then a few weeks later, he picked up Murakaki's book. The magician's picture was on the cover, a bald man with a thick brown mustache and bright blue eyes. The book was long, but definitely not boring. It turned out that Macaulay's life was as exciting as his show. He was born on a farm with nothing, lived with his mean uncle, and ran away from home when he was 10. By 15, he was performing in circus shows. By 20, he traveled the world. Since then, he'd survived cobra bites, storm at seas, and enemies willing to kill him to steal his tricks. In his chapter about how to do magic, Murakami wrote, "The road to fame wasn't easy. I was a failure at magic at first, but I practiced. And that was the first secret that every young magician must learn. To practice." Practice? Charlie had thought. Practice was for boring stuff like the piano. He stunk at that too, and quit. But Murakami was right. Charlie practiced his magic tricks and he got better. And there was something else. Doing his magic tricks gave Charlie a feeling, a bright and strong feeling, that he was more than just the shy boy afraid to talk to kids at school. And speaking of school, it was started in just 2 weeks. He hoped Sarah was in his class, but then Charlie thought of another kid at school, Gordon Potts. His stomach twisted. His card slipped from his hand. Would Gordon stop picking on Charlie again? Charlie sat down on his bed and pictured Gordon, an overgrown goon with shadowy eyes and a puffed up chest. Gordon was always making some poor chump's life miserable. And toward the end of last school year, that miserable chump was Charlie. Gordon had started tormenting Charlie last spring, and it went on until the last day of school. Happily, Gordon had been gone all summer. His family was rich and had a mansion in the mountains somewhere. But what would happen when Gordon got back? Charlie bent down to pick up his cards. If only magic was real, he'd make Gordon disappear or turn him into a frog. No, a fly. A fly on the rear end of a big, sweaty horse. Feeling better, Charlie took a breath and stood up. He shoveled the cards. They seemed to purr in his hands. Charlie looked into the mirror. His familiar freckled face stared back at him. He imagined he was on stage, lit up by glittering lights. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, in barely a whisper, "I am Charles the Great." Boom! A clap of thunder exploded through the air. Charlie put down his cards and ran to the open window. Sure enough, thick gray clouds swarmed the sky. Wind blasted Charlie's face, and here came the pouring rain. Charlie shut his window so the floor wouldn't get soaked. Boom! Boom! More thunder shook the house, and then, from across the hall, came the bone-chilling screams. Ah! Chapter 3. Charlie rushed into his little sister's room. He found Lulu under the bed, wailing in fear. This was what Charlie hated about these storms. Poor Lulu always got so scared. Charlie never used to care about bad weather. Sure, it could be annoying when a storm suddenly swept in. Sometimes when it rained hard, the streets would flood. That's why almost all the houses and stores in Galveston were built up off the ground. Water would rush underneath, without wrecking what was inside. The wooden sidewalks were built up 2 feet higher than the streets. Storms were just a part of life here in Galveston. Charlie knew that, but lately the sight of gray clouds filled Charlie with dread, because the slightest rumble of thunder sent his little sister into these fits of terror. "Chowie!" she wailed from her hiding place. That's what she called him, Chowie. "The cloud monster!" she cried. "Ah! The cloud monster!" Lulu thought a bloodthirsty beast lived in the clouds, and that every crack and boom of thunder was his ferocious roar. Charlie gently slid Lulu out from under the bed. He scooped her up and held her. Mama and Papa came in. Mama put her hands on Lulu's sweaty head, and Papa patted her back. "I'll take care of her," Charlie said to his parents. "Are you sure?" Mama asked. Charlie nodded. He usually managed to calm Lulu down. Mama and Papa left, and Charlie tried singing Lulu a song. "The itsy bitsy spider, cloud monster. Mary had a little lamb, cloud monster." Nothing was working. Charlie thought of the magician Mordecai, one of Charlie's favorite chapters in Macquarie's book, when Macquarie was on a big ship heading back to America from India. The ship sailed onto a giant storm. Massive waves rose up and crashed over the ship's deck. The passengers huddled below, terrified. And what did Maraki do? He put on a magic show, of course, distracting the audience with his dazzling tricks. Charlie's tricks weren't very dazzling. Then again, Luna got all excited when she saw a ladybug. "Lulu," he said, "can you help me find my magic coin?" The cloud. "My magic coin, Lulu. I think you have it." Lulu loosened her iron grip. She wiped her runny nose on Charlie's shirt. "Where's the coin, Charlie?" she asked. Charlie's idea was working, but it also could be that the storm was already losing strength. Charlie gently plopped Lulu down so she was sitting at the edge of the bed. "Is my coin inside your mouth?" he asked, brushing away her tears. "Open up." She opened her gummy mouth and sent a puff of milky breath up Charlie's nose. "Could it be here?" he said, checking between her fat little toes. How about here? He asked, peeking under her chin, then inside her slimy nose. Charlie said. Lulu's eyes were getting brighter. She pressed her lips together. She was trying not to giggle. Under your check under your pillow. I bet it's there, Charlie said. Lulu turned and lifted up her pillow. Charlie quickly reached into his pocket for the coin he always carried with him. He pressed it firmly into the flat part of his palm, locking it into place. He whipped his hand out of his pocket and put it up near Lulu's ear. Flicking his hand slightly, he made the coin drop into his fingertips. This magic move was known as the French drop, and it was one of the first tricks a beginning magician learned. Aha! Charlie said, holding the coin out to Lulu. Lulu's eyes widened, and she broke into a grin. Do it again, she said. Do it again. Charlie felt like taking a bow. 10 minutes later, Charlie walked on into the kitchen. Where's Lulu? Mama asked. Asleep, Charlie said. How'd you do that? Papa said. Magic trick, Charlie said. He shrugged. Mama came over and gave him a kiss on the cheek. When you're a famous magician, I'll be first in line for your autograph. I'll be second, Papa said, and look, Mama said. The sun is out. The storm's over. Charlie peered out the window. The sky was bright blue. He wasn't fooled, though. This was Galveston. There will always be another storm.